Russia just used the missile it swore it would never use. The King of Britain stripped his brother of everything, and inside the NHS, elderly patients are literally dying in hospital corridors. This is not tabloid drama. This is Britain in late 2025. Stay with me for the next 20 minutes because today's picture of Britain's security, justice, and leadership will surprise you more than you think. If you're new here, I'm Andrew Meet Rich. I used to work inside a big mainstream newsroom where stories were bent to fit the line. I left because I couldn't keep pretending. Now I'm independent, I speak freely, and I tell you what actually matters. Hit that like button, subscribe, and if you value independent analysis without corporate filters, consider supporting this channel. It means a lot and keeps these reports coming. Ukraine has confirmed that Russia for the first time used the 9M729 Novator cruise missile, banned by the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty and capable of hitting targets up to 2,500 kilometers away. Western intelligence says at least 20 launches occurred from August to October. The missile can carry both nuclear and conventional warheads, meaning its reach covers much of Europe, including the United Kingdom. Experts call it part of a coordinated pressure campaign following the testing of the Burevestnik missile and the Poseidon torpedo, both nuclear capable. British newspaper Metro reports that these tests align with President Trump's renewed push for a settlement in Ukraine, while AI newspaper warns readers not to panic, claiming much of the talk about nuclear tsunamis is exaggerated. Still, Poseidon is not a myth. It's a nuclear-powered underwater drone that can travel 10,000 kilometers at speeds up to 70 knots and detonate near coastlines. The blast itself might not cause a giant wave, but the fireball and shockwave could devastate local areas. Meanwhile, the British Parliament's Public Accounts Committee has accused the Ministry of Defence of catastrophic mismanagement of its F-35 fighter jet program. Of the country's entire fleet, only 24 jets are ready for combat. The rest are grounded due to a shortage of pilots and engineers. The ministry insists the project is still within budget, supporting 20,000 jobs, and will be corrected in time for full strike capability by the 2030s. So, war looms at the doorstep, but the country that once ruled the waves now can't even get its planes off the ground. We're not ready for war, not even close. Back home, another crisis unfolds inside Britain's prisons. Deaths in custody have jumped 30% in a single year, reaching over 400 cases, nearly 100 of which were suicides. More than 76,000 acts of self-harm were recorded, along with over 10,000 assaults on staff. Human rights groups call it a total collapse of the correctional system, and while that sounds dark enough, Halloween week in the UK brought its own bizarre twist. Police in Preston captured 3 wolf-like animals wandering the streets and terrifying residents. Social media users claim they were hybrids, Czech wolf dogs or northern wolfhounds, escapees from a private breeder. Thankfully, no one was hurt, but the scene reminded locals of the old horror film An American Werewolf in London. But Britain's real monster story is playing out in Windsor. King Charles has officially stripped his brother, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, formerly Prince Andrew, of all royal titles, privileges and residence rights after new evidence surfaced about his connections to Jeffrey Epstein. The decision was final. Andrew will now live in a small house on the Sandringham estate, paid for by the king himself. Even his daughters Beatrice and Eugenie have reportedly left the UK for now. It's the end of an era and a warning to the rest of the royal family. For 3 years, Andrew fought to hold on to Royal Lodge, his lavish Windsor residence, paying a symbolic rent of £1 a year. But this time, the monarchy closed ranks. Government ministers called the decision fair and overdue. Insiders say Prince William personally supported his father's move to cut ties with his uncle once and for all. Across the Atlantic, American attorney Gloria Allred, who represents Epstein's victims, is now urging authorities in Northern Ireland to rename streets that bear Andrew's name. The Carrickfergus Council is debating whether to replace Prince Andrew Way with Queen Elizabeth II Way. Some locals welcome the idea as respect for the victims, others call it pointless bureaucracy, and honestly, that road name says it all, the road that leads nowhere. Beyond royal scandals, Britain's streets tell a different story, one of decay. Hultrop Street in South Yorkshire was once called the most beautiful street in Britain. Today, it's a ghost town of burned-out homes, vandalism, and fear. Elderly residents remember when neighbours helped each other, when kids played outside. Now, empty houses are being torched by vandals, rats roam the alleys, and people dream of escape. Local authorities plan to demolish the worst blocks and build a few new public houses instead. What's behind you? What's ahead? Darkness, dirt, fear, and indifference. That's what many Brits feel right now. If this picture hits you as hard as it hits me, don't scroll. Click like. That's how you and I push this story past the algorithmic fog. Meanwhile, the government plans to simplify home charging rules for electric cars. Homeowners without driveways will soon be allowed to install cables across sidewalks without a £250 permit. Officials promise more charging points in new parking garages and public areas. With over 86,000 chargers across the UK, most of them painfully slow, this reform could finally make EVs more practical for families. But while the government talks innovation, the prison system keeps bleeding. Since late 2024, more than 3,800 inmates have been released early under emergency measures to reduce overcrowding. Reoffending nearly doubled in 2 years. The Ministry of Justice says the program saved the system from collapse, yet the chaos on the streets suggests the opposite. And with bonfire night approaching, fireworks have been restricted across Scotland. In Edinburgh, launching or even throwing fireworks in public is now a criminal offence until November 9th. Police confiscated over a ton of illegal fireworks in Operation Moonbeam. Authorities say the crackdown aims to prevent the violent riots seen in previous years when officers were attacked with bottles and explosives. In Lancaster, one woman was told to remove her famous Halloween tunnel made of skeletons and fake corpses after officials labelled it a safety hazard. She says it's solid and raises money for charity. Her neighbours love it. Bureaucrats don't. Supermarket chain Tesco has quietly raised the price of its reusable bags for life from 30 pence to 40 pence, joining Sainsbury's. Many customers called it a joke. Others said it's about time we bring our own bags again. At least you can still exchange worn-out ones for free. Meanwhile, Britain's new online safety law has crushed traffic to adult websites by 77% since July, when users were forced to verify their age through ID scans or facial recognition. VPN app downloads skyrocketed. Regulators say the system protects children. Critics call it digital surveillance. Pornhub says it's losing users to sites that simply ignore the law. And in a final twist of irony, 3 activists from Just Stop Oil who threw orange powder on Stonehenge last year were acquitted. The court ruled the protest peaceful and the damage minimal. Cleanup cost just £620. The judge called the prosecution disproportionate. Environmentalists hailed it as a victory for free expression. The government called it madness. And madness seems to be the theme of the week, because even after all this, Chancellor Rachel Reeves will face no punishment for illegally renting out her London home without a licence. The ethics advisor called it an unfortunate oversight. Emails later proved her husband had been warned about the requirement, but apparently that didn't matter. The Prime Minister closed the case, saying she made a mistake and apologised. Accountability? Optional. Meanwhile, the NHS is in collapse. Charity watchdog HUK reports elderly patients lying for hours or days in corridors, unattended, hungry, wearing soiled clothes. In 2024 to 2025 alone, more than 1.5 million people waited over 12 hours for emergency care. 2/3 were over 60. Doctors call it corridor medicine. The Ministry of Health promises reforms, but medical unions describe it bluntly: moral rot eating through the system. That's Britain today. From royal scandals to missiles pointed our way, from prisons bursting to hospitals breaking, the crisis is not coming. It's already here. I've been doing this for years, not because it's easy, but because someone has to. I chose truth over obedience, and I'll keep digging into the facts others avoid. If you value clarity over noise, stick around. We've got more to talk about. Subscribe and hit like, because it really helps this channel grow and reach more people who care about the truth.